Greetings, Dr. Mark Winton here from University of Central Florida, Department of Criminal Justice, and I want to spend a few minutes talking about scenario planning and forecasting. With forecasting, basically what we're trying to do is project or predict what might occur in the future, recognizing that we don't have predictions that will be 100% accurate. There's always going to be things that can change or lead to changes. And so that's relevant to look at. And Mahaffey, in an article in American Demographics in 1995, Why Forecasts Fail, pointed out several problems with forecasting. For example, overestimating the speed of change. And I think that's a real important one. If you think about it, some policies have been discussed or we've been trying to implement them for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And another error is underestimating the wider implications and the unforeseen effects of a particular policy. That we might find that the policy worked well to resolve one problem, but inadvertently created another problem. Also, the failure to carefully evaluate the assumptions of the forecast. Also, our own limitations as experts, and sometimes lack of imagination can be a problem, as well as having too much optimism in our forecasts. Now, with scenario planning, we have a great amount of research and writing on this strategy or technique that we can use in setting up policy scenario planning, trying to figure out what can happen with different types of policies. And I'm going to draw from several resources. I'm going to draw from Chermak's 2002 article, The Mandate for Theory in Scenario Planning, from Futures Research Quarterly, volume 18, pages 25 to 28, and Cornish's book, 2004 book, Futuring, The Exploration of the Future, published by World Future Society, and also Ogilvy's 2002 book, Creating Better Futures, Scenario Planning as a Tool for a Better Tomorrow, published by Oxford University Press, and also Ringland's 2002 book, Scenarios in Public Policy, published by John Wiley and Sons, just to give you kind of the background of the material, the references rather. Okay, so what is scenario planning? According to Ogilvy, scenario planning is, to quote Ogilvy from page 56, a method for creating a range of better futures, not a blueprint for a particular future. And Ogilvy and Ringland summarized this process of scenario planning as follows. First, identifying the problem or the main issue or decision to be made. Then brainstorming the factors related to the outcome. And we're talking about a variety of factors, looking at the micro and macro, the small factors and small issues and situations that go into that policy, as well as the macro, the large societal, between countries, that type of scenario, and then certainly the political, economic, social, and technological. So putting this all in place and together, you see it gets very complex, but it gives us an opportunity to look at different possibilities. And then look for the unexpected, the uncertainties, and then select a few scenario plots, and then expand these and create stories, and then put them in an outline or narrative form. So you have different scenarios. For example, if we wanted to address a particular issue related, let's say, to drug addiction, and we wanted to set up some various, we wanted a policy to reduce a certain, drug abuse problem. We want to see if we did that particular policy, what are different scenarios or outcomes that we are projecting or predicting we might see from that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to project different scenarios and situations so we can try to avoid all those errors, because certainly there's been situations where we didn't think through the possibilities of what could go wrong, and then of course we see things went terribly wrong. So what we also want to see in scenario planning is modifying these scenarios, continuing to develop the scenarios, and then finally, starting to ask, so what? What are we going to do with each of these scenarios? In other words, what are the implications and what are the options that fit each scenario? And then, of course, looking at a plan to implement whatever we're trying to accomplish, and also how we would provide information about these scenarios and the possibilities and outcomes to others. So to give you an idea, we might say, if we were going to do a scenario planning exercise, we might go ahead and select a major criminal justice topic in the first phase. In the second phase, we'd focus on the scenario development. For example, asking what do you think would be the outcome given certain conditions. In phase 3, we would add, modify, or delete from the scenarios. In phase 4, we'll come up with an option or action plan. And then phase 5, the conclusion of a scenario planning exercise, when we evaluate the whole process. And with scenario planning, what I would do if I was running an exercise as a consultant is that I would have, for example, 5 groups. And following Cornish's work, I would have group 1 would write the scenario where things stay the same, group 2 where things go better, group 3 where things get worse, group 4 a disaster scenario, and group 5 would be a transformational or miracle scenario. And that wraps up this video.